good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. Doesn't work. Thank you for joining today. So today we're going to do a topic on cybersecurity, or getting to grips with cyber. It's a buzzword which has turned into our industry, or vice versa. So it's more of like an overview, an introduction session to the wider world of information security or cybersecurity, which not everybody has had exposure to. So I will get started. So what do we mean by cyber? As I said, it started as a buzzword, but it's the same thing we've known for many years. IT security, information security, and many other guises. Cyber is normally used these days because it tends to, or pretends to, encompass more of the organizations and businesses in their processes rather than just an IT thing. So it sets a wider intent rather than just information security, but fundamentally it's the same. Cyber attacks are on the rise across the globe, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute by that. But traditionally, when we talk about cyber, or what we're concerned about cyber, it means some form of malicious and motivated attack. So the attacker doesn't have your best interests in mind. They're out for something. It's a targeted and specific aim. So even seemingly wide-scale random attacks have a goal. No matter what scan it is, or what they're after, or what they do, it's normally for a specific reason. They're always planned. Even simple attacks show some degree of planning, but it is nothing new. Old crimes, new methods. As I said, this has been around for many years in various forms in the IT world of information security and IT security. But a lot of these crimes have been around even longer, like the Nigerian prince scam, which is, hello, I'm a Nigerian prince. If you send me money, I can share part of my wealth with you. That crime's been around, as far as we can tell, from at least since the last time Spain and England had a civil war, had a war between each other, when it was known as the prince scam, where I'm a prince that's been captured. Can you please send me some money and I'll share my land with you when I get back from the war? So, none of these crimes are new. It's just different ways of exploiting them. The Global the World Economic Forum even every year revises a list of threats that could pose stability to the world, governments, countries, and everything else. In 2018, cyber made the list. Down here on the bottom left, we have cyber attacks. And it's also interlinked with various other related fields which should look familiar, such as data fraud or theft, critical information breakdown, adverse consequences of technological advances, and of course, like all the other threats, they are interlinked. So terrorism, failure of transactional mechanisms, so destabilization of economies, all can be linked from cyber attacks now. So from a global economic point of view, these are considered serious threats to the stabilization of all countries and the world, not just organizations and us as individuals. If you've never explored that map, I recommend you head to the website and take a look. When we are talking about the bad guys who can, destabilize the world or steal all of our money, who do we mean? For many, many years, this used to be the stereotype. This script kiddies, scammers, hackers, kids in their bedroom. And, those who lived through the late 90s will remember that freely, because that pretty much was the truth. It was us sharing viruses we'd written to mess with our friends in college, or sending stuff for fun. Or me, then, maybe not everyone. But, it was people doing it out of boredom, or trying to see if, hack the US government to see if aliens existed. It was an exploratory time rather than necessarily maliciously driven, although there were malicious attacks. They're not the real threat, though, these days. One of the main groups we have is serious organized crime, who have moved into the cyber world. As I said, this crime that's existed for a long, long time, and this is now in its current form. Organized crime is organized just as well as it is in the real world. Some of the largest organized crime gangs from Russia and Korea and other places, they offer pensions and salary, job descriptions, benefits, and everything else for joining them. They are proper organized groups who are there to make money off you. Hostile intelligence agencies. Every single country in this world in some capacity has some form of cyber offense or defense, and they utilize that regularly. You saw in the news recently, North America allegedly attacked Iran. We've seen multiple attacks all over the world from various agencies, from North Korea and China especially, and Russia, where the countries themselves are organizing some of these attacks to destabilize other countries or for other reasons. And of course, we can't overlook the insider threat. normal human beings like us who either accidentally or maliciously cause a risk to the organization. They steal data, they reveal secrets that they think should be revealed, or otherwise, other result of perform an action that results in a breach or some form of cyber attack. The reason why they do this, the main reason is financial gain. GrandCab was a type of crime as a service on the dark web, and they managed to earn $2 billion in 15 months, and then cash that out into the real world, allegedly. To put that in perspective, the previous largest ransomware as a service earned £15 million in 18 months. So the amount of money they're earning is increasing dramatically, and they're making it even easier. Costs nothing, and it's easy to commit. So say crime as a service is available as a dark web from as little as $10 an attack, and that could be anything from hacking someone's password to stealing data or compiling lists of stolen data together to form a new list of passwords which you can then use to try and crack another website. And it's expensive to investigate, easy to hide, and difficult to prove. Laws are out of date. They do not cover the current types of attacks and crimes that we are seeing. It's very hard to track somebody down, and when you do eventually track somebody down, you can't get to them because they're in another country and that government doesn't care or doesn't want to intervene. So largely, by and large, they get away with it. Financial gain is not the only motivation, though. So Coca-Cola trade secrets and IP is a good one. They have been a target of multiple cyber attacks over the years, one including where someone stole their secret recipe and tried to sell it to Pepsi. And Pepsi identified that and said, no, we don't want it, told Coke, and the police were involved, because that would have just been a messy legal situation. But more recently, well, a few years ago, they were involved in buying a Chinese sugar beverage organization. The Chinese government compromised Coca-Cola's entire network to steal data to try and drive the price of the deal down, and the deal worth about £2 billion ended up collapsing and not going ahead. Disruption is another reason to cause attack. Maersk Line, they were heavy victims of the WannaCry malware that went around the other year. They had 4,000 servers and about 400 computers all compromised with ransomware, unable to access them, unable to operate. Took about £350 million to clean that up. And I remember talking to the CISO just afterwards, where he described running around the office, ripping cables out the wall and disabling Wi-Fi repeaters with hammers if they had to stop the network connections from spreading across the organization. And political. I'm not going to accuse anybody, but there are allegations of other organizations, so hostile intelligence agencies interfering with political elections around the globe. So by performing manipulation or compromising just raw voting data, it has the chance to change the political landscape of this world. The main way people try and pull off these attacks is via social engineering, malware, and technical exploits. So social engineering is a psychological attack designed to make an individual perform some form of action, either giving data, giving away their username and passwords or other login credentials, or granting physical access to an area, device, or asset. Phishing is by far the most common way of doing it, and we've all seen those even internally in Turnkey, where it's, can you please do this? Can you send that email? And it's something we all need to be vigilant of. Malware is the big bucket term these days, from viruses, ransomware, rootkits, and keyloggers, devices that when installed will either disable your machine, like ransomware, and then ask for some money before you can get your files back, and then there's no guarantee of that happening, to rootkits and keyloggers, which will record your actions or give an attacker total control of your machine. So, and these are spread from websites, from downloads, email attachments. So, always be careful opening up your email attachments, especially if you do not know who sent it. And technical exploits, they're what most people think of when they think of hacking. Everything from utilizing 0 days, which are attacks that no one has ever seen before and there's no way of preventing, or they've discovered a new bug in a piece of software or a new method of attacking something, to organizations simply not patching for 10 years, which the vast majority of organizations are guilty of. And we saw that with the SAP 10K Blaze exploit last month, where it was actually preventable if organizations had applied some patches from over 10 years ago. So the fact that it was so many systems are vulnerable shows how many organizations don't get simple patching and support right. So the main things we're worried about, if you've been around security or information security for a while, it's no different. It's confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your data. Some good examples are the Sony Pictures attack, where all their confidential emails were leaked and put on the internet. Discussions between executives, agents, movie stars, talking about deals, financials, and everything else. Information that should not have been made publicly available was made publicly available in various embarrassing discussions were revealed. The integrity of data. Stuxnet is an old one, but still a very good one, where attackers compromised a nuclear power plant and span up the centrifuge in the middle, attempting to try and get it to melt down. All the dashboards that people were looking at had been modified by this malware to say that everything is okay, despite nearly destroying the entire power plant. So if you can't trust the integrity of your data, it's effectively useless, and you can't make good decisions based on that, because data is the beating heart for every organization. And availability. TV5 Monde is still a French television station. It nearly wasn't. On its launch day, it had made, in the build up to its launch, it had made some political comments which annoyed a state actor. And on their launch night, as they were broadcasting live around the world, there was a cyber attack against them which attempted to wipe the TV station off the face of the planet, destroying their servers, their hardware, their network equipment, wiping every single piece they could find. It was only stopped from being successful because an engineer was working late to make sure his server was running fine, spotted a lot of traffic heading towards the backup servers, and physically disconnected it. If it wasn't for that action, the TV station would be wiped off the face of the planet. So that was a good example of an attack that wasn't aimed at financial motivation. It was just pure disruption, a vendetta trying to remove it off the face of the planet. And if you remember that think tank article that Simon put together, it's extinction level events dealing with that. For most organizations, not too far there. The most impacts we are worried about is regulatory and legislative impact. Things like GDPR and PCI cover how personal information and payment cards, credit cards, debit cards are protected respectively. Breaching of those, so mishandling of data or inappropriate storage, can result in fines, legislative action, jail time, depending on the laws across the globe. There's also some interesting ones there, like COMA, which is the control of, hazardous materials, something like that, where, there's IT systems, largely in manufacturing. So if you consider an alcohol company, if they're brewing whiskey, will have several liquid tons of explosive liquid on site. If those IT systems are compromised and that liquid is ignited, you have an environmental hazard. So there's other non-IT legislative and regulatory requirements that companies have to meet. Reputation, financial impact. If you are the victim of a cyber attack and your company makes the newspapers, typically your stock price falls, investor and consumer trust falls with it, and you can also potentially lose competitive advantage. Stock price and investor trust is a bit dubious because we always see stock price going down and then recovering. The investors normally don't care yet. Hopefully they will one day. But competitive advantage is still relevant. If all of your secrets, if you imagine Turnkey, all of our accelerators for project delivery, all of our client lists, our pricing and everything else was leaked, we would lose our competitive advantage in this space if someone else could pick it up and run with it. Or if another company beat you to the market with an exact product because they know what your business plans were going to be for the next 6 months. And unfortunately, there will be a human impact going forward if there hasn't been already. As the Internet of Things connects more and more devices together and involves pacemakers and heating systems on lifts and trains and aeroplanes, ultimately people are going to lose their lives due to the result of cyber attacks. WannaCry is a good one. That was the big ransomware that took the National Health Service in the UK offline. The NHS or the UK government has never revealed if there was any fatalities, but considering hospitals lost power, ability to perform operations, there's a good chance that people unfortunately did suffer as a consequence. Just conscious of time. Warning signs. How do companies know if they're going wrong? IT security versus cyber resilience. So one of the reasons why people prefer the cyber badge is it doesn't mention the word IT in it. And a lot of organizations are still in the world of everything is the fault of the IT department. Security is an IT problem. It's user administration. It's their problem to solve. It's just servers and technical junk, where it's not. It's end-to-end cyber resilience. How do you prepare for an attack? How are you planned? Where is your data? What is your key information assets? What are the business risks to your organization? If organizations are still dealing with it as an IT problem, that's a massive red flag. Problem between chair and the keyboard. Are employees educated on cyber issues? For many years, it's been a case of the user's at fault, they're an idiot. But if us as cyber security professionals have not educated end users how to use software and systems appropriately, how to look after data, and move to the controls to how they work rather than giving them some restrictive instructions which aren't practical, then we're as much fault as anyone else. And a lack of oversight. No one knows what anyone else is doing. Typically, it's linked to the first one. It's an IT problem. IT will go and fix it, but it needs to be an organizational-wide problem where every single individual within that organization and partners and suppliers know exactly what they need to do. Good companies are prepared. Governance and strategy. Someone senior, the board level, must be responsible for the cyber resilience strategy. So end-to-end, and the information security policy. End-to-end security is embedded throughout an organization. Everyone knows their responsibility, and you can't do that unless that message comes down from the top. Identification and protection. You don't know what controls or what you should be protecting if the business doesn't even know what's important to them. You need to identify critical data, critical applications, critical business processes, any technology or manufacturing sites as an example that are critical to the operation of the business, so you can define appropriate protections against them. And of course, you have to be able to detect attacks. There's a stupid sounding stat out there that it takes most organizations 18 to 20 months to determine they've been hacked. The truth is most organizations don't know they've been hacked, never will know they've been hacked until their name appears on the newspapers or their information is found on the internet. Detection is hard, and most organizations don't even look. Response and recovery, incident management and business continuity plans for cyber attacks. Traditional IT disaster recovery is we'll get the servers back up and running with backups. Cyber resilience and continuity planning is our backups no longer exist. All of our database of our clients has been leaked to the internet. How does a business recover from that? Constant testing, vulnerability management. Have we patched everything that we can do? Have we connected a new application which is causing an issue, which can leak, have caused somebody to compromise our systems, like TalkTalk. TalkTalk were breached by someone hacking a development test website from a third party and then jumped through networks into the TalkTalk network to steal the data. You have to test every single possible angle. And red teaming is a good method of doing that, and that is basically wargaming for security nerds, where you simulate a full-on attack with no holds barred. They can utilize phishing, physical penetration testing, and every single attacks that a real criminal or gang would use to try and break into your organization. And training, absolutely critical. Sharing information through channels, training and awareness, making people know what they need to do, what they should be doing, where, when, and how. And if they identify something that has happened or could happen or nearly happened, it is reported so the appropriate steps can be taken. And I'll just wrap up to very short on time. Summary, cyber attacks are unfortunately here to stay. IT is always going to play catch up, and we're always creating more problems. Every change we make, every new application we introduce, I don't mean Turnkey as us, I mean us globally in the world, are always creating more problems. The business often move faster than IT, criminals move faster than businesses. They will find the weak link. We fix one vulnerability, they find another one or go around it. The impacts are significant. So GDPR fines might be huge, but the other impacts are just as significant, especially if it can wipe your business off the face of the planet or result in the loss of human life. And good companies are prepared. Poor companies will be hit hard, hit frequently, and hit where it hurts. You can never protect yourself from being compromised. You have to assume at some point you will be. And it's how your organization is set up to manage, detect, and prevent that determines how quickly you can, or even if you can, recover.